Let's bring you now some news from here in France, where the race for next year's presidential election is hotting up. Tomorrow, we will find out whether Marine Le Pen will be cleared in her legal battle, paving her way to run for the presidency. Meanwhile, the centre-right candidate, Edouard Philippe, who served as President Macron's prime minister back in 2017, held a rally in Paris yesterday, confirming he would seek the top job. Here he is then explaining a little of his policy proposals.
I want to protect blue-collar workers, low-income earners, and the self-employed. I will not impose further taxes on businesses that already pay too much tax. And I'll say it again, we must cut social spending and abolish tax loopholes before even considering raising taxes on those who work. I'm prepared to tell pensioners that they will have to contribute more to funding the social security system. As for the wealthiest, there's no need to invent silly new taxes to ask them too to contribute to the nation's recovery.
Well, with me is Marc Perelman, our French politics editor, to talk a little bit about Edouard Philippe. Marc, he was the first candidate who confirmed he would run in the election next year. He's the mayor currently of Le Havre on the French coast. Do you think he stands a chance?
According to the poll, he's probably the best chance on the center-right. Yes, he said very early on that he would run for the presidency, but until this meeting held yesterday in Paris, he wasn't really declaring himself or speaking a lot here and there. But yesterday was the first time he had to perform, quote-unquote, as a candidate. Edouard Philippe is known as someone who's quite shy, who doesn't show his feelings, who doesn't show who he is. Yesterday, he was forced to do so, and he arrived by raising his fist, which is very unlike Edouard Philippe, but basically, yes, making some proposals on the center-right, but also saying, I'm a real candidate, and I'm here to stay. According to the polls, he is the best placed of the old Macron camp. I'm saying old Macron camp because Edouard Philippe not only said he wanted to become president, but at some point he also said the president should quit. And this was seen as a major step against Emmanuel Macron. Emmanuel Macron, the name was never uttered yesterday by Edouard Philippe. Although when Emmanuel Macron tapped him to become prime minister, no one, except those who really follow politics extremely closely, had ever heard of Edouard Philippe. So the reason why Edouard Philippe can be a candidate today is also due to Emmanuel Macron, but Edouard Philippe knows that Emmanuel Macron is toxic when it comes to the polls. People don't want to hear about him. So this is why he's both trying to distance himself, but in a way, he was also his prime minister. Some of the key first measures implemented by Macron were also his. We'll have to see whether he can really have a momentum, because the importance for him is not only to be slightly ahead in the polls, is really to dominate them, to emerge as the candidate of the center-right.
Yeah, when you talk about having the candidate of the centre-right, that's because actually there are a number of figures who were associated with President Macron who are expected to run. Edouard Philippe, we've talked about. There's also the former Interior Minister, Bruno Retailleau. There's Gabriel Attal, another former Prime Minister of Emmanuel Macron. So do you think that we will find eventually one candidate of the centre-right who can run, or are we going to have a very divided race?
Well, this is really, as you said, the key. Because if there are several candidates, they have no chance of reaching the second round. Because let's just look at the whole picture. According to the polls, the far right is a shoo-in for round two. Marine Le Pen or Jordan Bardella will know tomorrow, but according to the polls, it doesn't really matter actually who will be there. On the left, on the far left, we have Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the socialist, the center-left. It's a little bit like the center-right. Lots of candidates, lots of ambitions, and no one has decided who will run and how the person should be selected. Yeah. And on the center-right, as you say, there is Edouard Philippe, who declared early. There's Gabriel Attal, another former prime minister of Emmanuel Macron, who has taken his distances from the person who made him a well-known figure. Some are saying it's betrayal. Others are saying, well, that's how politics are done. And there's Bruno Retailleau. Bruno Retailleau, it's a bit different. He's not a purely Macron minister. Yes, he served under a Macron government, but he's the leader of the Conservative Party, and he also wants to run until the end. But if they all decide to stay in the race, they will not make it to the second round. So this is why the battle is on right now, because we can assume that if one really emerges in the polls as the key leader, the other two will say, okay, we're going to sacrifice ourselves, maybe get a ministerial position in the future. But that's the assumption. But you never know. You know, if they're neck and neck in the polls and one or two decide to stay in the end, and you have three candidates of the center-right, well, essentially they'll be doomed. So they know that they have to fight, but eventually they will have to surrender. If not, the center-right that they claim to represent will vanish with them.